KJ Wright from the Seattle Seahawks, and you are watching NorbFam.
This is Walter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf from
Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbFam.
You're watching NorbFam.
Good evening, Hawks fans. What's going on? This is NorbCam coming at you with a late night stream. Couldn't go any further. Had to get this out before this weekend's football matches, the divisional round. Want to talk a little bit about the coaching situation with the Seahawks. How do you like my new background? I've been playing around with some different backgrounds, and I wanted to give you something different here. So I hope you like it. I hope you like it. This is going to be a fun show. We're going to talk. I'm going to share a few thoughts about the whole coaching situation, about the letting go of Pete Carroll. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on who you think our head coach should be. I've got phone lines open. I'll be taking calls later, as well as on Discord too. So we're going to get to that in a second, as I'm getting used to my little desk right here. It's pretty sweet, right? I'm just, I don't know, just feel like talking tonight and getting some thoughts off my mind. I know it's late for some of you on the East Coast. Apologize for that, but hey, sometimes, you just got to put things out there when you feel the urge, right? I see you guys already out here over the comments, so keep it up. Feel free to super chat it if you like, but that number's coming up here shortly. So I'm going to bring this in here right here. Let's talk about this. Pete Carroll and who his replacement should be. If you want to call in, I will be taking calls. There's the number right there, 202-926-1076, and then enter the code 696153. All right, so a few thoughts real quick. All right, 14 seasons under Pete Carroll. It's hard to fathom how long that's been. I know that I have a lot of younger fans who I've collaborated with, who watch my channel, and I think for a lot of them, Pete Carroll's all they've known. For those kids who are only in high school now or maybe entering college, he's probably the faintest memory they have and the only memory they have of a Seahawks coach, which is crazy to me because I've known them since, back in the day when the Seahawks had the likes of Mike Holmgren and Jack Patera, Mike McCormick, and Chuck Knox, and a few other names sprinkled within there as well. But so I've seen a lot. 14 years is a long time, but I've been a fan since 1979. Not since the very beginning, but pretty early on. So I've seen my share of Seahawks teams and coaches. And Pete Carroll, for sure, has been the greatest of all time. And so when they let him go, I got to admit, I was not happy about it. I thought he deserved another year. I thought at least one more year to try to get that turnaround, to get that, because we were in the middle of a rebuild. Thought he deserved one more shot to see if he can get that postseason appearance, maybe get one more signature victory. Super Bowl would have been great, but just to send him off on a good note. But then again, how often does that happen, right? Mike Holmgren's last year in 2008, he went 4-12 in a very unceremonious to the finish line. And, Pete Carroll's not as bad as that, right? Still had a winning record, just didn't make the playoffs. And as they said in the movie The Dark Knight, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I don't think he stayed long enough to become the villain. I think for a lot of us, some of you guys were tired of seeing him, but I still felt like, he deserved one more shot. But it is what it is. And so now John Schneider takes over here in charge of personnel. So he's going to decide who the next head coach will be. He's going to be in charge of all other hires, at least have a hand in it. And we'll see what move he decides to make. So there are some candidates already lined up. Interviews are already lined up. Some who haven't been lined up but are obvious potential candidates. We're going to talk about a few of those. So if you're John Schneider, if you're the head coach or looking for a head coach, what do you look for, right? How do you break this down to what do we really need? And Casey Sports Nerd, he's like, bro, it's 12 a.m. here, man. Hey, sorry, man. I got to do what I got to do. And if you can't stay, I get it. You just got to, just watch the rest of it later, apparently. But here we go. When you break things down, there's a few categories in which you kind of have to make that decision. First, you got to decide, are you going to go young or old, right? You got some candidates out there who are on the older side, and you got some guys out there who are up and coming, young guys. You got to decide which way you want to go. Also, offense versus defense. We know there's a lot of offensive-minded head coaches out there and a lot of defensive ones, coordinators as well. So you got to decide which way you want to go there. And then finally, personality, culture, leadership. These are the things that outside of what they do in terms of scheme and strategy and all that, it's like, what kind of a leader are they? What we saw what Pete Carroll's impact was for 14 years and the kind of energy he brought to the locker room and with the players who keep coming back to celebrate him or coming back to the Pacific Northwest to be around this team. Clearly, the impact on them goes far beyond their time on the field, and it's been like a lifelong impact. So, you want somebody who can have that sort of power in the locker room to move and motivate guys. And of course, you look at their past record. What have you done for me lately, right? What do you bring to the table? What has your performance shown that makes you go, okay, this guy has done this with this team. I think we should give him a shot with us. So these are the things they all got to work on. So let's talk about the potential. Let's talk coordinators first. Let's talk about the up and coming. If we want to go young, here's what we got to be looking at. And keep this in mind. These are some of the guys who they've already scheduled, or have already interviewed, or scheduled to interview, and there's a few more coming up. But I'm sure we're far from being done. But this is kind of the current list that we're facing right now. Just keep in mind, when it comes to coordinators, it's easy to kind of just go, well, this guy's been really good with this team. We should just get him, or whatever that might be. But just remember, just because they were good coordinators on successful teams does not guarantee they'll be good head coaches. I'd like to bring up the example with the New England Patriots. We had Josh McDaniels, amazing offensive coordinator under Bill Belichick with Tom Brady, and then defensive coordinator Matt Patricia, who was obviously part of that whole Super Bowl, run dynasty of the team. And both of those guys went to have head coaching opportunities, but did either of them really succeed at it? Not really. They kind of sucked. Matt Patricia kind of stunk it up with the Lions. And Josh McDaniels, started off with the Raiders there and got fired in midseason, and it was kind of an ugly situation. So even with a team as good as that, with coordinators who's had that much success, not a guarantee how it's going to go. All right, so I want to talk about a couple of starting with the defensive side. Here are a few of the candidates who are in line to be looked at. There's Mike Kafka, offensive coordinator. Oh, sorry, that's offense. Ejiro Evero from the Panthers, defensive coordinator. Raheem Morris, defensive coordinator of the Rams. And Patrick Graham, defensive coordinator for the Raiders. Now, I'm going to just say right off the bat, Ejiro Evero, Panthers, kind of a crazy hot fire dumpster mess this past year. Not exactly that impressive from a defensive coordinator position. I'm not sure what it is. I know he was with the Rams during their Super Bowl 56 run. But for me, I'm like, I want somebody who's coming from a winning situation to come in. So that one just does not appeal to me right off the bat. All right, especially if it's going to be from the defensive side. Raheem Morris from the Rams, kind of intriguing. The Rams made it into the playoffs when they were expected to be a pretty sucky team this year. I think their defense improved as the year went along. They did lose to the Lions, but they were this close. One maybe missed penalty away from making it and advancing to the divisional to beat the Lions. But so Raheem Morris, another guy who's got some coaching experience and has done pretty well. Someone to keep in mind. However, this is the guy I'm kind of really excited about. Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator for the Raiders. They finished in the top 10 in terms of scoring defense. He was with the Patriots way back in Super Bowl 49 against us. But what he's done with the Raiders, from the turnaround that they had when they started the season to the end, they didn't make the playoffs, but their defense finished in the top 10. That's pretty impressive. So from the defensive coordinator standpoint, he would be my top choice right now. My friend Rob, who's a big Raiders fan, says, keep your hands off of my defensive coordinator. You don't get to have him. But if we got to go that way, that would be my pick of the ones that have been on the list so far. All right, so Patrick Graham, that's the one I kind of got an asterisk by from a defensive coordinator standpoint. From the offensive side, we've got a couple names, both very good at their jobs. There's Frank Smith, the OC for the Dolphins. He's had top offenses the past 2 seasons. And then, of course, there's Ben Johnson. He's probably the biggest buzzword right now, especially after that win they just had, the offensive coordinator for the Lions. He's definitely on the tops of a lot of teams' lists. And I do believe the Seahawks have intentions to talk to him as well, but they're going to have to wait a little bit because they're still playing their games, right? Okay, so of the offensive coordinators, those two, Ben Johnson definitely kind of got me excited. They come from that Dan Campbell culture right now. That team is flying high. Came in last year when they beat the Packers at home, got us into the playoffs because they didn't give up. They didn't quit, and that carried into this year. We kind of saw that the Lions are going to be pretty good next year. And lo and behold, there they are, one of the top teams in the NFC. And I like where that's coming from and what they've done with Jared Goff at quarterback in that trade from the Rams. It looked like Goff was like getting cast away. Like, what's he going to do with Detroit? You know, what has he got going for him? He's going to just die there. And what does he do? He turns it around and is one of the best-looking quarterbacks out there in the postseason, doing some pretty amazing things. So a lot of credit goes to Ben Johnson. So he's kind of got my little star, definitely, in terms of the offensive coordinator position as a potential head coach. Now, I want to go to the older guys here and talk about the potential head coaches that are floating out there. We're talking about, of course, there's Bill Belichick technically out there. Jim Harbaugh, been thrown around a lot. Mike Vrabel from the Tennessee Titans, who was let go. And, of course, Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Let's start back. Bill Belichick, probably going to cut that off the list. First of all, it would be so weird to see Bill Belichick, the head coach of the Seahawks. That would be like Darth Vader joining the rebellion. I mean, that would just be too bizarre. But he's probably going to Atlanta anyway. He's got a second interview, I believe, scheduled with them. So that's a very likely matchup. It's funny that he's the one who beat the Falcons in 28-3 gate back in Super Bowl 51, and he might become their head coach. Crazy how things go. But so that being said, he's probably out. Let's talk about Jim Harbaugh. Again, maybe not as extreme as Bill Belichick, but man, do you remember the heated rivalry we had when you go all the way from Pete Carroll to Jim Harbaugh back in the Stanford USC days, and then Seahawks 49ers? It was personal, man. These guys got heated, and of course, Pete Carroll got the best of it when it came to eventually 2013 and beyond. We kind of put the 49ers in their place for a number of years. But Jim Harbaugh, hard to wrap our head around that one, but can't deny what he did at Michigan. But you feel like you're getting this guy who's cheating allegations, not exactly the most likable guy, unlike his brother John at the Ravens. He's like the nice guy, and Jim's like the crusty, mean, less attractive, less nice brother. But the guy can win. Winning solves everything, right? But he's interviewing with the Chargers. I don't know. Feels like it's not a likely match in Seattle at this point. Not going to rule it out, but anything can happen. So let's focus on the last two head coaches who are probably the most highest in the candidate, and they're both defensive guys. We're talking about Mike Vrabel from the Tennessee Titans and, saving this one, Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. One of these two, I've got my hands on, is the one I would want to pick. If you've been watching my videos, you already know who that is. But Mike Vrabel, definitely a surprise release this offseason. Thought he, like Pete Carroll, probably deserved at least one more shot with the Titans, as he hasn't done a horrible job over Tennessee. But, you don't make the playoffs, and gives everybody a reason to, didn't make the playoffs, you're out. And but I think he's a pretty good coach. He's got the player background, having been a defensive player with the Patriots. I think he can earn the respect of his players. They seem to play hard for him. Definitely in the conversation for a potential head coach for the Seahawks. So we'll have to watch that closely. But the guy I really do like, and I've saved this one for last, Dan Quinn. Now, obvious reasons. I think a lot of people still feel like he is the sort of front runner because of the obvious things. He was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks during the heyday of the Super Bowl 48, Super Bowl 49, when the Legion of Boom, and arguably when we had the best defense of all time. We all want to relive that, of course. Now, of course, we're not going to have the same personnel, but he knows the culture. He's been here. He understands what Seattle's about, and that's what Jody Allen and John Schneider said they want to maintain. With Pete Carroll going out, they still want to keep that same culture, what they've built over the last 14 years. They want to keep that going. And he'll be the perfect guy since he's lived it before and had this top of the mountain success with them. Now, I know you guys are probably looking at that Cowboys game, the loss to the Packers, going, ugh, well, they got their butts kicked. Why would we want that guy for defensive coordinator? Well, it's one game, right? It was a bad game, horrible loss, but there's a lot you can look at that. Offense turned the ball over a couple times, setting up that big lead. I mean, not entirely on the defense. The defense definitely made big mistakes, but it's still one game. You're going to really just look at the last 10 years of pedigree and go, he really sucked that last game, so forget about it. I still think he's got something that, you would be worth looking at. And I know everybody wants to go with the new offensive direction. Everybody wants the next Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay and go young and go, it's all about the offense. But defense wins championships, man. And if you don't have a defense, look at the Seahawks the last 2 years. What has the Seahawks problem been? It has not been the offense. It's been the defense. We've been like one of the worst defenses 2 years in a row. And it's hard when the Seahawks put up 35 points against the Cowboys. At that point of the game, when we hit 35, the Seahawks were, I think, 36-0 when they scored 35 points or more. And we ended up losing that game. Why? It wasn't because of the offense. Because like defense. Big problems all around. And that needs to be fixed. You can't be all offense and no defense. And so that's where my feeling goes with all those reasons that I said. And I'm prepared to look past that last game and look at the benefits that he would bring to Seattle. So that is my pick. If you have to go defense, I would go Dan Quinn from the Cowboys. And if they wanted to go offensively, I would go with Ben Johnson from the Lions. Of course, they want to come here too, so it's not like we just get to pick and say, you're joining us. So we'll see what happens. But I want to hear from you guys. I want to see what you think. There's a lot of people here. Wow, I guess we got for a late show, there's actually a lot of people watching, which is great. So let's get to the phone lines and to the Discord here and hear what people have to say. Let's start here with, let's see my stuff going on here. Let me get my lines open and see what's what. Let's start with the phone lines. Anthony D was on here early. Anthony D, we'll start with you, man. There you go. Oops. There it is. Anthony D, early bird gets the worm. What's going on, brother?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing just great. How about you, man? You ready to chime in? You got some thoughts on this Seahawks coaching replacement? Who do you want to see as the next head coach for the Seattle Seahawks when they come to the stadium in August and they say, and now introducing the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks? Who do you got?
Well, first of all, I'm all right. 2 days ago was a poop show because on my day off, one of my dogs had an accident in her kennel.
Uh-oh. You mean that kind of an accident? They kind of don't want to have to clean up that kind of accident? Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yet, you're not wrong about that, no.
Yeah.
But I have another day off tomorrow, and I'm hoping I'll either write my script for my TV show again, because I've been hit with severe writer's block for almost, I think, 2 months.
Oh, man,
or try to record my song.
That's tough. I know. I get it. Got to keep the inspiration, keep the fire going. I know it's hard. It's a long road, man.
Yep.
But have you given any thought to this coaching situation? I named a few names out here. What do you think? Who would you like to see?
Well, that's second of all. I honestly don't know, to be honest, buddy. Really, the only thing I care is whoever's going to be head coach, just please get us to the Super Bowl next year. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, it's no big deal. I don't expect a lot. Just get us to the Super Bowl on your first year of coaching here. Well, you just aim high with your expectations, man. I would give whoever comes here, I think they got to have at least a 3-year window to kind of get their own style, their own culture, their own opportunity to get the team where they are, because it's tough to do it in just 1 year's time or even 2. 3, I think you got to start seeing some advancements. But hey, a Super Bowl in their first year, I'd take it. I think that'd be great. So we'll see what happens. But I appreciate the call, man. Mm-hmm. It's always good to talk to you, AD.
All right, buddy, you take care.
All right, man. You have a good night. Hope your dog doesn't make any future messes. That sounds like no fun. All right, let's go to Bill. I think this is Bill. Bill Ernst from the 469. Bill.
How do you feel about your Seattle Seahawks losing your coach?
Well, I kind of said so in the beginning. I said I wasn't a fan of him being fired this season. I thought he earned at least one more shot next year. But, they're not listening to me, so I was disappointed.
And you're probably going to get a coach that's not going to get you guys a win. You're probably going to have a 15 season next year. So I want to get your thoughts on how you feel about that.
I think that's pretty presumptuous to just assume that no matter, even though they haven't picked a coach yet, you're already assuming they're going to be going 2-15. Who are you a fan of? You must be a 49er fan or something.
Yeah, I'm a diehard 49er fan.
Oh, that figures. I smelled that 49er stench as soon as you called the phone line, talking all that smack.
How do you feel about the Niners sweeping the Seahawks this season?
What can I say, man? Can't deny what's happened. You guys are having this is your window. If there was ever a time you guys should go all the way, it should be this season. You could have gone all the way last year, but tough luck with the injuries. So I'm sure you're probably thinking 49ers Super Bowl win is a foregone conclusion. Am I right?
Oh yeah, they must win it all, or it's a bust. It's a bust season. Their window is closing very soon, and if they can't get it together, then I do see Seattle might fall off the gridiron for a couple seasons. But for good news for you, you'll eventually come back up. So.
Wow, a ray of sunshine amidst all these clouds I see in the sky.
Sunshine, but by the time you guys come up, you're going to have to face the Cowboys again. I was kind of shocked that they beat you guys.
We should have beaten those guys. The Cowboys are frauds, man. They proved it in that loss over the weekend. I said before, I don't believe in Miami. I don't believe in Dallas. I think they are way overrated, and they proved that. They proved that point over the weekend. Now, I so badly wanted a rematch with the Cowboys, and I think we would have gotten that if we had just gotten one more win, or if the Packers had lost. I think we would have played the Cowboys. I wanted that rematch so badly because we should have won it the first time, but didn't happen, unfortunately. But the Cowboys went down in a blaze of fiery glory, which I love. Let me ask you something as a 49er fan. You guys play the Packers this weekend. They look pretty good against the Cowboys. Are you worried at all about the Packers? Or is there any team out of the NFC that you are at all concerned about? Or are you just looking all the way ahead to the Super Bowl at this point?
I'm concerned about Detroit. That's the team that I'm looking at, how they handled the Rams and how they were jumping on receivers, no calls. Kind of worried about them. I'm not really worried about Green Bay, per se, because after all, they did play the Cowboys. The Rams could have beat the Cowboys. You guys could have beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. It's just they're good in the season. They're hard to beat in the season, but when you get the Cowboys in the playoffs, it's like you just won the lotto. You're going to win.
When's the last time the Cowboys have done any damage in the postseason? It's been a long time. They did beat us back in 2016, I think. It was a while ago, but. I would have liked to have that draw again, but we'll see. The Packers look pretty good, though. You're not worried about the Packers? They're kind of on a hot streak right now, winning that last home game and then beating the Cowboys at home when they hadn't lost in 18 games.
Love, when he gets jittery, he's like Dak. He throws interceptions. So if you get him jittery, you get him shook early, he'll start missing throws or start overthrowing or throwing INTs or fumbling, or he's still kind of rookie. He's had a good season, but he's still got a lot to learn. It's Detroit is the one that I'm concerned if the Bucs can take care of business and the Niners can beat the Packers. There's a AFC team I am concerned about is the Ravens.
Of course, because they already spanked you once during the year, so I could definitely see why you'd be concerned about that. We'll see what happens, man. It's going to be a fun divisional round for sure, but I'll hide no feelings about it. I I'm looking forward to a 49ers loss somewhere down the line here because that's what we do as division rivals. So I'd wish you good luck, but I really honestly can't do that. But I do appreciate you calling on my show, man.
Well, you'll see how you get it. I know it won't be a good pick that you guys will get, and just know we'll hold up some Lombardies for you guys.
Yeah, and if you don't win it this year, you can always go back to the old trophy case and pull out one of your old 5s and say, well, we have 1 5. We've got 5 of them. Here's one of them. All right, man. Thanks for calling in, man. I enjoyed the conversation. You're all right. You're all right for a 49er fan, man. Go Niners. All right. Appreciate the call, man. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Discord. Let's go to Aaron B. Aaron B has been hanging on for a little bit here. Let's go to Aaron B. Aaron B, what's up?
What up, Norb?
Aaron, not much, man. What do you think? What do you think of all this craziness?
I think Pete had a little bit more time in the league. He took us to 1, maybe 2 Super Bowls, and one of them we won, and the other one we sadly lost to the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
But my 2 choices are either Dan Quinn or the Patriots' old head coach.
Bill Belichick?
Yes.
Yeah, I doubt it's going to be Belichick. As I said earlier, I think he's having a second interview with the Falcons. Seems like a better fit in their situation. But, yeah, I'm with you, man. I would not be disappointed if Dan Quinn got the head coaching job. It just seems to make sense on a lot of levels.
Yep.
Yeah. How did you feel about Pete Carroll being fired? Did you feel like he deserved... Were you happy to see him go, or did you feel like he should have had another chance?
I feel like he should have another chance. I think the GM did a bad call on that end with firing him.
Well, I think it's more Jody Allen, the owner's call, than it was John Schneider. Maybe she got a little input from him, but I think it was more of her call. But, yeah, I'm with you, man. We seem to be lockstep on that. So, appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in.
I welcome Go Hawks.
All right, go Hawks. Let's go to Norb the Best. Good name, I must say. You're muted right now, but Norb the Best. What you got? Oh, and I got to say, Jeremy G with the super chat says Chrysosimo 2.0 is back once again. Chrysosimo will be definitely doing a video here. He's overdue for an appearance, so be on the lookout for a Chrysosimo video. All right, Norb the Best. Who is this?
Gabriel.
Gabriel. What do you think, man? What do you think about this whole mess? Pete Carroll being gone, who the next head coach should be? What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like we made the wrong decision there. I feel like it wasn't his fault. I mean, he definitely should have done something with Clint Hurt and Shane Waldron, but, I feel like it was more on them, and we needed to move on from them this season. And just his energy all around with the team, I feel like we're going to miss that next year.
Yeah, I agree. Hard to explain why the defense was so bad 2 years in a row. That's just how can that happen, right? With all the moves we made, drafting in the first round, and still ending up where we ended up. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe almost worse than last year. So.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. It's crazy that we're in this situation, but here we are. And I'm sorry, who'd you say you wanted for replacement coach?
Right now I'm kind of, iffy on all of them. Like, I don't feel like all of them are a great fit. Dan Quinn seems like the biggest one personally, but, you got the Rams defensive coordinator, and I heard talks about Houston's OC. So, there's a lot of, good offensive coordinators and stuff that are in there that are in the talks, but I feel Dan Quinn's probably the best fit.
So are you, Dan Quinn's obviously a defensive guy. Do you feel like defense is the best way to go for a head coach, or would you be more open towards one of these OCs, offensive coordinator types?
Honestly, I don't really know. Like I said, I got a top offensive candidate and I got a top defensive candidate. Either one I'd be happy with, honestly. So, I mean, Dan Quinn obviously defensive, and then probably the Texans OC because what they've done, as of recent has been pretty good. So,
yeah. All right. Well, we'll find out in the next couple weeks. I would think that we might start hearing about a new hire, maybe by Super Bowl time. I don't know. We'll see. But time will tell, sure enough. All right. Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. All right. Let's see. While I'm waiting for other lines to come in here, feel free to join. But I'm going to just jump to the chat. Just kind of start from the beginning and just look through a few of these here. Man, there's a lot of chats in here. Rishi likes the new background. Thank you, man. You like the little mini-me? Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here at my desk. But not really, because it's fake. Rishi said Nathaniel Hackett. Jim Everett says Jim Harbaugh. Maybe that's just because he's got the same name. Blizzard Peak. Imagine if Harbaugh ended up coaching Seattle. Yeah, that would be crazy, wouldn't it? Let's see. Austin says, only sure bet is Harbaugh. Hings Cold. Jermaine Kearse. Offense, Jermaine Kearse. Defense, Cam Chancellor. Head coach, Marshawn Lynch. I love that. I love everyone who just wants to bring the band back together. Let's just bring all the former players and just throw them in there. We don't even know if they want to coach, but let's throw them in there anyway. Where we go. Mouth of the South says Lions, Bills, with the Lions winning it all. I'd love to see Lions, Bills. Wouldn't that be great? Two teams who've just never been so missing that taste of glory. Probably be a ratings disaster. But yeah, maybe it'll be great. Maybe people will be like, hey, let's watch the two teams from Losersville who've never gotten to the top of the mountain going for it. I think it'd be great. Sidegen's rooting for the Lions. Tyler P, am I streaming the games? I'll definitely be streaming most of them, if not all of them, this weekend. Brandon wants McDonald or Vrabel. Michael McDonald. Heavenly Father, watching you fall. If you guys are from the 80s, you know what I'm talking about. Auntie Patrice says Jim Harbaugh. Casey Sports Nerd says senioritis is really kicking in. Sorry, bro. Oswaldo says Jim Harbaugh. Brandon, Harbaugh seems unrealistic. Sajan, the evil twin. Harbaugh, obviously. Auntie also wants Ben Johnson. That DK says Mike Vrabel. Millet 06, not Dan Quinn. We want something completely new with the winning culture, but a new young guy. He wants to go young and Brandon, don't get your hopes up with Harbaugh. Adam Ramirez says Vrabel will bring toughness to our defense. Don't want Quinn. Enough of the Pete Carroll era. Oh, okay. Sijan says we don't want to relive it, but renew it. Renews it, does it. Auntie says Dan Quinn is DC is what I say. That DK. I agree with that. Dixie Normus. Is this a call-in show? Yes, it is. The number's right there. If you want to call in, the lines are open if you want to join in and give me your thoughts. And otherwise, let's keep reading these comments. Cameron Hughes, Shane Waldron offense this year had higher EPA per play in 2023 than all the other offensive coordinators we interviewed so far. Is Cameron Hughes making a play saying Shane Waldron should be the head coach of the Seahawks? Could that actually be a possibility? That's not even being discussed, but interesting point. Interesting point. Again, I do argue that it is not the offense. It is not Geno Smith. It was never an offensive problem. It's the defense. Defense sucked big time. Let's see. What else we got here? Ben Braun wants Mike Vrabel. Cameron Hughes says, I have a feeling you guys are going to hate my top three coaching candidates. Well, Cameron Hughes, jump on here. I want to hear who they are. I'm not going to read that one. Cameron says, the fact that Pete didn't get a third year post Russell Wilson is kind of ridiculous, if you ask me. I agree, man. Ben Bryant says Mike Vrabel has 3 Super Bowls on him, and he knows defense. Yeah, he was on that Super Bowl team. Michael Follett, I wouldn't mind someone unproven. Vrabel would be a great leader with the right staff. Paul Hanna said Mike Vrabel isn't hired right now, so the Hawks don't need to publicly request an interview. You could have secret conversations behind the scenes. Jay wants Bill Belichick. Cameron Hughes says, I hadn't started kindergarten when Pete took over. I'm now in my 2nd semester in college. That's crazy. You don't know how old you make me feel. Jason the soccer kid. Norb, the Huskies coach, left to Alabama. Yeah, no kidding. Taga Kale, 49er fan in here as well, says, get a real QB, period. Until then, enjoy an eternal mediocrity in the Northwest. Well, I believe we will be drafting a QB sometime soon, but he might have to be there for another year while we continue this transition. I mean, let's be realistic. Next year will be a continued transition, rebuild, what are we going to call it? Chief Sway, don't worry, Norb, my Packers will take care of them on Saturday. Oh, we've got a Packers fan here who's confident they're going to shock the world and beat the 49ers. Wouldn't that be something? AD says, dude, I'm not the type of fan that's in all the stats and stuff or anything like that. He just wants them to win the Super Bowl, nothing big. Tiger College says, Green Bay about to clap that Niner behind. Oh, Ben Braun. 49ers can't keep Chase Young because the Commanders doesn't get him 5-year option before the trade. They are in a window. They got to keep all these guys. One thing for sure is change. Oh, let's see here. Bill is 72 years old. Do I hear something? I must be, let's see.
Hey.
It's Tyler Parcher. Tyler Parcher in the house. What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Well, went out in the snow and we went driving, me and my dad.
Oh, nice. Snow driving. You were at the wheel doing donuts in the snow?
No, me and my dad were.
Oh, yeah. You're in the passenger seat. All right. What was for dinner tonight, Tyler?
I had a quesadilla for dinner.
Quesadilla. Good idea with the quesadilla. I like it.
Are you going to stream any of the games this weekend?
I'll definitely stream definitely the 49er game. They're all pretty good games. I'll definitely be watching them. I'll stream as many as I can. What the heck? I'm definitely going to be just streaming. I don't know if I can do all 4. Is it 4? Yeah, all 4. I'm going to do my best, though. Well, do you have a thought on the new coach for the Seattle Seahawks, Tyler Parcher?
I think we should get Dan Quinn, I think.
Dan Quinn on board with the Dan Quintessizer, the Dan Quintessential Quinn, because he knows how to win. Except when he plays defense coordinator for Cowboys.
What time? When is the game on? What day? Saturday?
I don't even know the schedule. 2 games on each day. I forget what the schedule is. I'll be figuring it out. There's an earlier game and the evening game on both days, so we'll see what it is. I can't remember.
It's Saturday at 5:15, January 20th.
Okay.
Packers at 49ers.
That's the Saturday game. Yep, that's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So Seahawks Eddie likes my new background. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Cool, man. Dan Quinn, I'm with it. I'm with you on that. Feeling it. So we'll see what happens. We will know in about a couple weeks or so who the new leader of the Seahawks for the first time in 14 years. Crazy.
Yep.
All right, Tyler. Well, you have a good night, man. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it, brother.
All right, later.
All right. Let's see. Let's go to what other things? Oh, we've got a caller here from the 602. Let's go. Please tell me you're not another 49er fan. From the 602, who's this?
No, I'm Abdias. I'm a big Seattle fan.
Okay, cool. What's your name, man?
Abdias.
Abdias?
Yeah, I've been watching for a long time. Yeah, Abdias. Abgis.
Oh, Abdias. All right, cool, man. I appreciate that.
Yes.
How long have you been watching my channel?
I've been watching since that Super Bowl run, but I was back in 2nd grade at that time. Now I'm a, grown man, 19.
Wow, so you're one of those guys who've only known Pete Carroll as the coach for the Seahawks, huh?
That's all I've known, and it's kind of crazy to see what's going on now.
It
but I know
is.
I know where we're heading. I hope I know where we're headed.
Well, where do you think we're heading?
I think we're gonna get Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Lions. I think he's a perfect fit. You see, I know you were saying that it was the defense that was the problem, and I know the defense was the problem, but I feel like we have too much talent on offense to be putting up so little points. I think we only put up like 20 against Arizona, right?
Yep. We've had so many games where we put up like 20 is the magic number, right? 2017.
Exactly.
You know, you're right about that. And we definitely should be scoring more points on offense with the weapons that we have.
Especially when Especially when you look at the type of talent we have on like the entire offense. And we saw that offense coordinator, Ben Johnson, do something similar with Jared Goff. You know, I think Jared Goff has less weapons than Seattle for sure. And we saw what he turned Jared Goff into, and I feel like he could do that for Geno Smith.
Yeah, that's true. That's what, and like I said, Dan Quinn on the defensive side, Ben Johnson for me on the offensive side as well. So I could definitely see both sides depending on which way they want to go. But what would you do? Yeah. So that would be your head coach choice. What other, if you were given the power of John Schneider and suddenly you're like, okay, you're in charge of personnel, what other drastic changes do you make besides Ben Johnson as the head coach?
You know, the big decision that's going to come in is keeping Geno Smith. You know, if we don't cut him by I believe 5 days after the Super Bowl, is going to be $12.5 million cap hit.
There's a lot of money on the line to make that commitment. Kind of like the Russ thing. I think it's one of those things, is that injury guarantee type of thing. So if they decide they don't want to go, they're going to have to decide pretty soon here, because like you said, that money becomes real and locked in if they want to keep rolling with Geno. So what would you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like you're saying if they get Ben Johnson, you would keep Geno.
I would honestly want to keep Geno, but I feel like the only person that was really pushing for Geno was Pete Carroll. So I kind of see Geno going, to be honest.
Interesting.
I'd like to see us trade for someone like Justin Fields or maybe trade up in the draft and get a quarterback.
Right. I feel like this would be the year they got to draft somebody. Now, they may not be able to draft that high because they're like right in that middle of the pack type of pick, but they could offer something up and try to get somebody, but we would have to give something to get something in return. Of course, I still feel like this is another rebuild year that, you know, it's not like the all or nothing, got to win it all next year. I feel like they're still kind of going to be building towards that direction. So maybe it's not Geno. Maybe financially they don't want to make that commitment. But then Drew Lock, isn't he a free agent after this year? Isn't his contract up?
I believe he is, yeah.
So if we let Geno go, and we haven't done anything with Drew, we really, other than our third string practice squad quarterback, we don't have anybody at quarterback if we let both those guys go.
I do know that both of our quarterbacks love it here in Seattle, though, so I'm pretty sure we'll be able to keep one for sure. I'd really like to get a guy like Jaden Daniels in the draft.
Yeah. Justin Fields is an interesting one. Justin Fields, you know, he didn't get it done in Green Bay like we hoped. But, again, right system, different weapons around him. Maybe he could be something that could work for Seattle. Possibly, but what would it take?
That man's a playmaker. He's a star. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really don't want to get a game manager type of quarterback like Geno Smith or Jared Goff. I like to get a playmaker. I heard some talks about Kyler Murray earlier in the season as well. I'd love to get him, but I don't think the Cardinals would give up on him anymore.
I thought did they sign him to a pretty big contract a couple of years ago? I don't know.
They did, but that was a couple years ago though.
So it's kind of like that, like all these contracts, they're only locked into a point, and then look at Russ, right? We thought he was locked in for the long term, and they're pretty much ready to let him go, even though they still owe him a bunch of money. So.
Norb, I was wondering who you would want to see a head coach.
Well, I said earlier that my two choices would be either Dan Quinn or Ben Johnson. If they decided to go one or the other, defense or offense, those would be my two guys that I would look to. that I would be excited if either one of those guys, were chosen for different reasons, right? I still feel like either way, I feel like you got to address the Clint Hurt defensive coordinator position. Do you just keep that the same regardless of who we get a head coach, or do we roll with him for the third year? I mean, 2 years with one of the worst defenses. Is it time for him to go?
Yeah.
Or, how much blame do we put on him for what our defense has not been able to do?
Sadly, I think it's time for him to go. Normally, when we see a new head coach come in, we always see that head coach bringing some of his staff with him. And I truly don't see a scenario where Clint Hurst stays here as a Seahawks defensive coordinator.
Well, I don't think anybody would be too sad.
At least he won't be calling the plays no more.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's too bad. I had hopes that he would, as a guy who kind of moved up the ranks to be defensive coordinator, worked with the offense or was a defensive line. Felt so right. And when he got that coordinator job, and it just never quite came together for whether it's fault of his own or not.
Yeah, sadly, it felt like someone that the players really room for sure.
Although a lot of people have said, well, the only reason he didn't really succeed is because Pete Carroll was always micromanaging and never letting him be his own coach. He was trying to have his hands in and never let them do their own thing. I guess we'll find out now, because now that Pete Carroll's not there, whoever's going to be the next guy, if they decide to keep one or both of our coordinators, I guess that'll prove itself if we do find out indeed that, well, these guys are actually pretty good. And when we let them just run their offense or defense the way they wanted to, they actually were better than we thought. I guess that could happen too.
And it's going to be a different era for us, because it's going to be Shane Waldron my bad. It's slipping my mind right now. Our general manager, John Schneider.
It's going
to be John Schneider. He's going to have the rule over all personnel.
Right.
And back then it was Pete Carroll, and now it's John Schneider. And I think that's going to be different, because it was really Pete Carroll who pushed for that Jamal Adams trade and made some iffy trades. I love Jamal Adams, me personally, but I feel like we might have missed a bit on him.
Yeah, that's an understatement right there. I was hyped too. I was a little surprised because normally you don't pay a strong safety that much money in trades, but I was hoping he'd do what he did that first year here and when he got all those sacks and stuff. But then ever since he got hurt, he's just never been quite the same and never could bounce back. It's too bad, because if he could have been that player that he was before we gave him the fat contract, would have been really cool. But it just never transpired, unfortunately. So, yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Julian Love is a diamond though.
What's that?
Julian Love is a diamond though, so I'm glad we got him.
Yeah. No, for sure. He he definitely had the game of the year when in that Eagles game. And I like him too. We've definitely made some positive moves. We just made a swing and a miss definitely on that, but we'll have to address that next year. And linebacker and offensive line or defensive line, but our offense I feel pretty good about. Just maybe a move here and there.
Maybe just to interior line a bit. Yeah, but thanks for letting me call in, Norb.
Yeah, thanks for calling. I appreciate it, man. All right.
Yeah, you have a good one. Thank you.
You too. All right. Thanks for following my channel. Appreciate it, man. Go Hawks. All right, let's go to the Discord with Yozyaz. Yozyaz, you are up, I think. Let's see, make sure you're not muted. Okay, Yozyaz, you there? Yozyaz, still muted. Maybe that's by choice. Yozyaz going once. Yozyaz going twice. Okay, no Yozyaz. All right. All right, well, let's see. What else we got here? Just going through these other... Nick LeBeau is typing in here. I don't know why you guys don't call in. We are going to be doing our show tomorrow. Nick LeBeau and Sky High Aviation, we're going to be doing our roundtable, or I should say our Hawks Real Talk tomorrow late afternoon. And we'll be talking about this and seeing what the guys think about the coaching situation, amongst other things. So I'm curious to hear what those guys say. That's probably why they're not talking right now. They're saving it for later. What else we got here before we wrap things up? Again, feel free to call in before too much longer here. The number is right there with the code. or you can do it on Discord as well. Let's see. Wizard says, "What's up, Norb? Hope you're doing well. Sorry if I haven't been moderating recently. Just got promoted, and now I'm an editor for my local newspaper company. So it's been fairly busy. I'm grateful, though. That's awesome, Wizard. Nice job. Happy to hear that, man. What else? Cameron Hughes. Pete let the OC and DCs do their jobs his entire Seattle tenure. That is such a myth that he is a meddler." All right. Well, thanks for bringing that light, Cameron. I hear these things. And of course, I'm not there to see it, but that is what sometimes has been spoken of. But either way, it doesn't matter now because Pete is not there. So we can't complain about that anymore. Drew thinks, "I have a feeling we're really going to go through a rebuild now." We'll find out. JM says, "If I had my choice between Carroll or Schneider, Schneider to the street." All right, we got one more phone call here that I'm going to take two. Let's go. Let's see. From the 443. What's up? Who's this? Yo. Calling for the caller from the 443. You're on.
Hello?
Yes. You're on the show live. What you got?
Would you be okay if we got Mike Fable?
I
said, would you be okay if we got Mike Fable?
Yeah, no, I heard you. I was going to answer. In the list, I put Quinn above him, but he would be a close second on the defensive side of things. So I would be a little bummed if we didn't get Quinn, but I think he would be a nice second option on the defensive experienced head coach side. I think he's got a lot to offer, and I do like the fact that he's a defensive guy with experience as a player. I think that goes a long way in the locker room. So, yeah, I'm open to it. Is that who you want?
I want Quinn, just so we can maybe get Parsons too on that defensive front.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that.
I just feel like if we pair Parsons with maybe re-signing Wagner, plus with that young defense, have two vets up there, I feel like our defense would be pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you really think we could get Parsons and Quinn over here? I know there was talk, I think was Parsons who said, "I'm going to go where Quinn goes." Is that where you're coming from with that thought?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's nice support from a player to say, "Yeah, well, wherever he goes, I'm going to go with." But, the deal has to be worked out too. Just because a player wants to go with the coach doesn't mean they can necessarily get that done, depending on the contract situation, depending on the value. It's not quite as easy as saying, "If he goes, I go, coach. I'm going where you go." It sounds good, but, probably not so easy. It'd be great to have a pass rusher like Parsons for sure. Can't argue with that. I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Were you of the mindset that you wanted Pete Carroll gone, or were you hoping he'd have another year?
I was hoping he stayed another year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because, I just don't understand why we would make that move now, because we're so close on making the playoffs, and just, what if we won the Steelers game?
Yeah. What if Jason Myers makes that field goal against the Rams with no time remaining? He only missed it by that much. If he makes that kick, we're in the playoffs playing last week. Probably rematch against the Cowboys.
I'm still, upset. If we had to, look back on a game this season, I'm still kind of mad about that game. Because, if Drew Lock just got one of those first downs, it would have been game over.
That was a rough game, man. I mean, we had a lot. We started the game up. I think we were up by 14 points, or so. It was 2 scores early, feeling like we have this game. And Rams were up against the ropes, and then something happened in the second half where things just turned around. But you got to remember, too, we lost Kenneth Walker in the first drive of the game with that oblique injury. He was out. Geno gets banged up while trying to throw the ball. He gets out, and then they got to throw Drew Lock in there, who's not even ready. He hadn't been preparing with the ones or anything. So, just and with all that, we're still only one field goal away from winning that game. That was a heartbreaker. We really needed that game, and when we lost it, I remember thinking, oh man, we're gonna look back at this season. We're gonna go, that game, that's the one we let get away. And sure enough, it was, amongst others, because we should have beaten the Cowboys. We should have beaten the Bengals as well, but we bungled the Bengals game too. But yeah, would have been nice. We'd be having a different conversation, and Pete Carroll would probably still be here if any of those things had happened. But it's the way the ball bounces, as they say.
Things happen.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks. I didn't catch your name, by the way.
Jonathan.
Jonathan from where?
I'm from North Carolina.
North Carolina. All right. It's late where you're at. It's like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you staying up late to jump in on the show to weigh in, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Go Hawks.
All right. Go Hawks. Have a good night or good morning, as it were. All right. Well, I think it's time to wrap things up. I appreciate you guys jumping on here and watching the show and calling in. Join us tomorrow when I'm going to be with Sky High Aviation and Nick LeBeau talking more about this and other issues tomorrow, late afternoon. And I did want to just let you guys know about something exciting. I'll make another separate announcement, but as a lot of you probably know, I am the official Seahawks fan of the year, and I will be going to the Super Bowl to attend the game, the NFL honors, and other events leading up to it. But I did find out just recently that that Good Morning Football on January 30th, they will be running a segment showcasing me as a representative of the Seahawks as a fan of the year. So if you have cable and you get the NFL Network, tune into Good Morning Football. I'll probably record it anyway and show it online. But if you happen to be watching it live, that'd be really cool. Good Morning Football, January 30th. I'll be on there. So looking forward to seeing what they do with that segment. But otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. We'll talk. Hopefully you guys can watch the show tomorrow, and then I'll be streaming some of the games over the weekend to see what happens in this divisional round. All right? Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and smash that like button, and comment away what you think the Seahawks should do. And I appreciate that very much. And we'll talk to you later next time.